Hello and thanks for joining us from our studios in Israel. I'm Aaron Porras here with ILTV's morning briefing.
Reports now confirm that following the downing of a Russian aircraft last week, Russia will supply the Syrian Assad regime with up to 4 S-300 air defense missile systems within the coming weeks. That in order to better protect against future incursions. The Russian Kommersant News added that the number of systems may increase over time as well. Further, Russian Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu announced that the Russian military would also aid Syria in electronic warfare, such as jamming enemy satellites and radar equipment. Speaking with Russian President Putin on Monday, Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu urged not to escalate tensions in the region, arguing that Russia was, quote, transferring advanced weapons systems into irresponsible hands, end quote. That being said, the addition of the S-300 defense systems didn't seem to faze anyone in Israel in terms of continuing operations in Syria. Many Israeli officials have already stated that they will continue to do whatever is necessary to prevent Iranian arms and proxy forces from gaining footholds on Israel's border. Israeli Intelligence Minister Israel Katz chimed in, saying that, quote, if the Iranian undermining doesn't stop, Israel will be forced to continue doing everything possible to defend itself, end quote. And just prior to boarding his jet to New York for the United Nations General Assembly, Prime Minister Netanyahu also made clear that no attempts to hurt Israeli interests or sovereignty in the region would be tolerated. Speaking of the United Nations General Assembly, the Israeli-Palestinian conflict and the Middle East in general again took center stage as United States President Trump, Egyptian President Sisi, and many others delivered their speeches. President Trump, speaking now to the Assembly for the second time, opened his speech with statements about his administration's accomplishments, a statement received with laughter by the General Assembly. But as he continued, he again took a serious tone with respect to Iranian behaviors and sponsorship of terrorism, trade issues, and more. However, apart from imploring the world to join the United States in sanctioning the aggressive Ayatollah regime, Trump also defended his foreign policy and commitment to peace and stability with regards to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. He defended actions like moving the embassy to Jerusalem and recognizing it as Israel's capital, as well as defunding UNRWA and cutting ties with the Palestinian Authority. But most other world leaders who spoke on Tuesday, including French President Emmanuel Macron, all spoke out against the United States' unilateralism and in favor of a two-state solution based on the pre-1967 borders and with Jerusalem as a shared capital. Egyptian President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi said, quote, the terms of reference of this just solution and the parameters of a final settlement are well known. What is required is political will to resume negotiations and achieve a settlement in accordance with these parameters, end quote. Jordanian King Abdullah II also chimed in, saying that only a two-state solution based on, quote, international law and relevant UN resolutions can meet the needs of both sides, end quote. Israeli officials, on the other hand, backed the United States, with leaders like Netanyahu and Defense Minister Lieberman calling Trump's speech impressive, and that they hoped world leaders would, quote, listen and internalize the United States president's words. The newly opened high-speed train between Tel Aviv's Ben Gurion Airport and Jerusalem has finally opened, but apparently without some necessary bells and whistles. Reports show that the train is operating without adequate security cameras, and in fact 5 tunnels along the track totaling 20 kilometers will not have security cameras installed for another 2 years. But despite this disturbing fact, on Sunday the Israeli police approved the opening of the railway after rescue services successfully carried out an exercise to test the emergency response inside one of the train's longest tunnels. The train was originally set to open in 2008, but has had repeated delays over the past 10 years. Even this latest opening is incomplete, as the final track is set to expand all the way through Tel Aviv stations and onto Herzliya. But the electrical work is still ongoing between Tel Aviv and Ben Gurion Airport, so authorities have decided to partially open the railway this week, with the line from Jerusalem to Ben Gurion alone. No date has yet been announced for the opening of the full line from Jerusalem to Tel Aviv, although the current expected date is in mid-2019. And when the line is finally complete, the train will travel up to 100 miles per hour and transport passengers from Jerusalem to Tel Aviv in less than just 30 minutes. But good news for commuters around Jerusalem at least. For the next 90 days, passengers can ride for free from Jerusalem. The catch is that in order to ride, you have to order tickets online in advance and have a Rav-Kav travel card. Also, there will only be 400 available tickets for each ride, so act fast. A woman caught in the middle of a Haredi protest between Bnei Brak and Ramat Gan last Friday had a very uncomfortable and traumatic experience as demonstrators trapped her and attacked her inside her car. Luckily, she was actually saved by a Haredi couple, though. Thousands of ultra-Orthodox Jews were demonstrating against the Tel Aviv District Court's decision to allow work on Saturday, the Jewish Sabbath, for the light railway that's being built. Shira Pfefferberg, a 27-year-old woman from Tel Aviv, unwittingly got caught in the crowd on her way home and recalls how hundreds of Haredim charged, hit, spat, and threw chairs at her vehicle during the protest, screaming that it was the Shabbat. According to Pfefferberg, the police were not able to help her because all the roads were being blocked and they had lost control of the demonstration. They advised her to stay with them on the line in her vehicle. But luckily, after several minutes had passed with no sign of help, a nearby Haredi couple that heard the riot and saw she was alone and afraid in her vehicle came and took her into their home. Pfefferberg said that this was a dreadful experience and she's still shaken up. She told reporters, quote, "I'm ashamed that my country looks like this. We have the same God and I'm the granddaughter of Odessa's chief rabbi Yaakov Halevi Glicksberg. But apparently evil has no limits. I'm hoping for a change," end quote.
That's all for now. I'm Aaron Porras, and see you later with our main daily broadcast from Israel at 2 p.m. Eastern Time.